From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Matthew Roy. Tonight we take a look at the people making a difference in our communities, volunteers working all across Arizona. Here are some of their stories.
You could help with the current shortage of foster families in the U.S. Cronkite News reporter Andrew Christensen lets us know how. Andrew, what's the main cause for the shortage and how can people help?
I went to Child Crisis Arizona Center in Mesa to learn about how they're going beyond their usual marketing techniques to attract people of all backgrounds who might want to become foster parents. Singing, a regular morning routine for kids at Child Crisis Arizona Center in Mesa. The organization offers an early start program but has also made it its mission to reach out to potential foster families due to a shortage in Arizona.
So what we're looking for are individuals typically over 21 years old, and if you are willing to open up your heart and your home and you can provide the basic needs and are self-sufficient, we are interested in talking to you.
According to Child Crisis Arizona, they are licensing an average of 7 families per month, while in 2017, they were averaging 10 per month. When reaching out to families, the organization hopes that age is just a number.
It's not your traditional, we have infants and we'd like to foster infants. There are so many teenagers in the foster care system.
The qualifications don't stop at straight couples or even married people. Child Crisis Arizona takes in foster parents that are single, LGBTQ, or come from different religions and backgrounds, preparing them through classes.
They're in person and online to receive the training that's necessary to kind of think about all the different scenarios.
One way Child Crisis Arizona hopes to reach people, word of mouth, through current foster families like Allison Hurtado.
There's so much that you can do for a child, and it doesn't take someone extra special to do that.
Child Crisis Arizona hosts orientations to give potential families a real-world fostering experience and helps foster kids through counseling aimed at helping them develop day-to-day skills. In the broadcast center, Andrew Christensen, Cronkite News.
When someone can't access basic medical care, what do you do? Well, you bring the medical care to them. Cronkite News reporter Scotty Gange went to Surprise and shows us how a group from the University of Arizona is doing just that. Scotty?
According to the Association of American Medical Colleges, Arizona ranks 44th in the country when it comes to total active primary care physicians. Now that can make it difficult for many members of the community to see a doctor, but this initiative is now bringing them comprehensive care on wheels.
It's one of the best things we can do for each other.
Thank you both. Okay, how about you as well.
Offer support.
Yes, I give you a hug because I'm a hugger.
Now it's no new sentiment, but a crew led by Dr. Cecilia Rosales at the University of Arizona has found a new way to lend a hand.
1, 2, 3.
It takes a really special type of person with a special type of personality and lived experience to be able to provide the service. It's not just anybody can do it.
When we weigh them on the scale, do we ask them to take off their shoes?
It's a team full of individuals who volunteer their time to provide preventative health screenings inside Arizona communities.
Great. They'll ignore certain things just because they might not afford it. I mean, imagine having, do I put food on the table or do I go to the $75 appointment?
It's a population with limited access to primary care doctors.
But many times, and for most of the people that we interact with they do not have insurance. They do not have a primary care provider. And it doesn't mean that they don't have access to care, they just don't know. Everybody has access to service, regardless of whether you have insurance or not.
Well, you know what? It's been forever since I've been in the hospital, so doctor.
The University of Arizona owns 2 of these mobile health units, with one station in Tucson and another in Phoenix. According to the U of A College of Public Health website, the units have delivered over 38,000 services to over 8,000 people in just over 3 years.
From the outside, it looks like you guys have saved a lot of lives doing this.
Well, I really hope so. Yeah. But as we say, if we touch one person and we can help one person, I believe that's perfect for us.
The care doesn't end in the valley. Through the U.S.-Mexico Health Commission, Rosales and her team were able to purchase 11 total mobile units to place in various cities across the country with a high concentration of Latinos and people in need of care. and doing all of this, oh by the way, at zero cost to their community.
They ask about, do I have to pay for these services? And they find it interesting that it's free of charge. Our mission is to get people access to care.
Do you have any coffee today?
Early this morning.
Okay.
While the group specializes in care for the human body, it's their concentration of support for the individuals on a personal level that makes their job truly special.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Helpful. Yeah, I never expect that, so now I know.
Yes.
Thank you
now
so
you
much.
know. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's why I'm so passionate about what I do and being able to be part of this program, because I've been on the other side. I know how it is not to be able to go to the doctor or have to wait.
Yeah, I gotta do better. I admit, I'm not. And I was an athlete all my life until I got older. I played football in college.
You did?
Professional football.
Nice.
And I know better.
And you guys have helped a lot of people through this too.
We have. I think we have. Yeah, and we do it with a lot of love and a lot of passion.
Whether the wheels serve as a simple checkup or a wake-up call, it's always good to have a friend.
Here you are.
Thank you, Doc.
Have a nice day.
I will.
As mentioned, Dr. Rosales says the 2 mobile units in Arizona have allowed over 8,000 patients to get medical care and counting. These clinics on wheels are funded via a grant. In the studio, Scotty Gange, Cronkite News.
Most everyone in Congress seems to support the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which is used for state, local, and federal park lands.
But liking a program and funding it are two different things. Now Congress is being asked to put its money where its mouth is, as Heather Cumberledge reports from our Washington bureau.
National parks attract millions of visitors a year, each of whom comes away with something different. Arizona resident Corey Harris says he came away with a new direction for his career.
It was actually a national park here in Washington, D.C. that actually inspired me to switch careers.
And Harris says the parks are particularly important to veterans like him.
Having monuments and national parks to go to gives those veterans that chance to feel like they're a part of that home.
That's why Harris joined others on Capitol Hill recently to push for guaranteed funding of the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which pays for state and federal parks. LWCF has been around for decades, but needed to be renewed every few years until the spring, when Congress voted to make the popular program permanent. Arizona Representative Raul Grijalva calls LWCF one of our country's most successful recreation and conservation programs, and it's critical that we take action to protect it for generations to come. Now the fight is on to make sure there's always funding for the program. A House bill would guarantee $900 million a year for the fund, and taxpayers don't have to worry about paying more, since the LWCF has long been funded by offshore drilling royalties.
When there is offshore drilling on federal waters, it is using up a resource that belongs to the American people. So it's appropriate to take a small amount of that and put it towards land conservation for lands that are treasured by and really important to the American people.
The bill would also clarify how the money is to be spent. Since its creation, the fund has collected almost $41 billion, but Congress has only allocated about half of that. And Gardner says the money is urgently needed.
The American public should not be shut off from the places that they own and that provide for so many opportunities for learning.
And opportunities for so much more, Harris says.
Symbolism matters, and there's nothing that's more symbolic than a national park.
The bill is awaiting a House vote, but with 223 co-sponsors, it should have no problem winning passage. In Washington, Heather Cumberledge, Cronkite News.
Now, reading history from a book isn't quite as personal as learning from it from someone who has experienced it firsthand.
Cronkite News reporter Andrew Christensen joins us in studio. Andrew, you got to speak with an organization that lets students interview veterans. What was that like?
It really put me in the shoes of the students that are a part of the Veterans Heritage Project, because I also got to interview a veteran and see what kinds of experiences he went through and how it impacted him.
Harris Island.
Vietnam veteran Phil Yin laughs as he looks at his guideline book for the Marine Corps from boot camp, reminiscing about his time in the military during the 1960s. In his home, military treasures speak to what he learned during his service.
One of the things I think the Marine Corps taught me is discipline. And the Marine Corps has 3 words, actually: adapt, improvise, and overcome. And I use those 3 words in my professional career all the time.
Yin's experiences were captured by the Veterans Heritage Project, an organization that allows middle school, high school, and college students to interview veterans. Their work is published annually in books entitled Since You Asked. There are currently 15 volumes and 30 school partners.
And their individual stories really capture what is the cost of war. It's a lot beyond just words on a page or numbers. It's beyond that, and students learn that historical events they're nuanced.
One of the students who interviewed Yin was Jake Sonnenberg, who was so inspired by his experience with VHP in high school that he started a chapter at ASU.
It's those kinds of stories that really stick with me, as well as the lessons of leadership. And I think you get more lessons from the stories after the conflict, after their service.
Interviews conducted by students are archived at the Library of Congress. Executive Director of VHP Michelle DeMuro says students are improving their writing and researching skills as well as their confidence.
And you realize what they went through, what they overcame. That student then looks at their own life and realizes, my problems aren't that bad. I can work through this.
Yin says being interviewed brought up a lot of feelings he had been holding back, and that he is now understood better because he was able to share his story through VHP.
And I think all the schools, whatever town you go, should have organizations like VHP. I think it's an excellent vehicle for the students to learn about history, to learn about the different wars. Before you know it, if you don't capture that information, it's going to be lost. And what better way to capture it than have a student one-on-one with a veteran that experienced that.
VHP also has a speaker series where veterans talk to students about their war experiences, in addition to a scholarship program that has awarded more than $100,000 that allows students to pursue secondary education or to travel.
What a great program, especially for a learning opportunity for those students and those veterans. Now, if someone wants to get in contact with VHP, how do they do that?
You can go on their website on veteransheritage.org. You can also follow them on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
The homeless population in Arizona continues to grow, and Heaven's Healing Hands partners with St. Vincent de Paul to help those affected.
Cronkite News reporter Rio Painter takes us through the scene of a pop-up shop for those in need.
I read a book called Under the Overpass, which was a really good book about two college students who kind of left their everyday lives and became homeless for months. And the thing that really stuck with me was that they went to Phoenix.
Heaven's Healing Hands started this pop-up village at St. Vincent de Paul a little over a year ago. The group wants to help as many people on the streets as possible. Every month, church members bring donations in. Those are put into kits, and then those items are brought to St. Vincent de Paul. More than 50 volunteers show up to help hand out the kits, including 15-year-old Nathan Spalding and his father, Chris.
Kits contain a lot of hygiene items, and there's some snacks and stuff. They've got wipes, comb, nail clippers, some different variety of snacks, deodorants, stuff like that.
Nathan raised more than $1,000 through a GoFundMe account to provide items to those who are in need. The church has also partnered with hairstylists that come to provide haircuts to those who want it.
Today we really wanted our guests to know that they're not invisible, that they're not alone. Help is available. God is everywhere, and we are here to serve them. And serving them sometimes could just be a kind word. Some people just want a clean shirt. Sometimes the ladies just want their hair washed. You never know what somebody's needs are.
And it makes the members of Heaven's Healing Hands grateful that they are able to help in this small way. In Phoenix, Rio Painter, Cronkite News.
Those who want to participate can reach out to Heaven's Healing Hands or donate to the GoFundMe project created to collect money for the building mobile shower systems.
Each year, tens of thousands of migrants arrive at U.S. ports of entry seeking political asylum or hoping to stay for other reasons.
According to Customs and Border Protection, just last year, there were close to 400,000 apprehended at the southern border. But what happens to these migrants once they're in the United States?
Reporter Jody Guerrero spoke with one local organization working to provide health services to migrants and their children.
They call themselves angels, and they've already opened their wings in Phoenix to help whomever needs it, particularly migrants of different nationalities.
These migrants just arrived after a long journey. An Immigration Customs Service bus dropped them off at this church in Phoenix, many of them exhausted. Angelica Ortiz from the organization 100 Angels helps treat migrants. She says she sees a lot of the same ailments.
Deshidratación.
Dehydration, headache, body aches, flu, cough. 100 Angels provides physical, mental, and spiritual health services for migrants.
We bring all the medication, the medical professional volunteers, we triage, we assess for an emergency, we provide our guests with the needed over-the-counter medication, vitamins, hand sanitizer, lip balm, comfort toys to the little ones, and a big smile.
These migrants are part of the more than 800,000 apprehended in the southwest border, according to 2019 statistics from Customs and Border Protection. One family traveled through Mexico, leaving their 4-year-old daughter at home in Guatemala. Cronkite News spoke to the father on the condition of anonymity, since their migratory status is pending. He says their daughter was really sick and they couldn't afford medical care.
Sometimes hospitals don't even have doctors, no medicine, it's very expensive.
100 Angels works in 35 shelters throughout Maricopa County, visiting and helping migrants in churches like this. Once migrants are processed at a port of entry, Homeland Security brings them to a detention center. After a few days, they arrive at one of the many churches in the valley that serves as a shelter. That's where organizations like 100 Angels come in. Migrants get hot meals and fresh clothes. Then they bring families in one by one for consultations with the doctor. For some, this is the best medical care they've ever received.
This organization is planning on expanding their services around the world to help communities in need. Live in the broadcast center, Jody Guerrero, Cronkite News.
Having food on the table is a luxury we often take for granted. But what is it like to be a part of Arizona's food insecure population? As Daria Yasmin reports, communities around the state are working together to put more meals on the table.
Elena Sanchez says she and her family have experienced food insecurity. Currently living in a 2-bedroom trailer with her husband and their 9 children, she says the hardest thing they've had to overcome is hunger.
We didn't have money to pay the bills and the rent. Sometimes we didn't have food.
Food insecurity, not having regular access to affordable and nutritious food, is an issue across the country. The latest report by the U.S. Department of Agriculture finds the percentage of Arizona households that experience this is 12.4%. That's the lowest it's been in the past decade. Other states are experiencing the opposite, like New Mexico, which went from 14% to 16.8%. One institution that is making a positive impact is St. Mary's Food Banks.
And in Arizona, 1 in 4 children, over 400,000 in the state of Arizona, don't know where that next meal is coming from.
St. Mary's alone distributes about 250,000 meals a day across Arizona, but Brown says they can't always give families the 3 meals they need. Sonia Vega Lopez, a nutrition professor at Arizona State University, says that despite efforts to battle hunger, low-income families still struggle to get the nutrients they need.
They may be consuming the foods that are cheaper and more readily available, but not necessarily good sources of nutrients or high-quality foods or proteins.
Robert Smoke is the spokesperson for the State Department of Agriculture. He says food insecurity in the state has decreased in part because of an action plan developed in 2017 by a state hunger advisory council. That plan aimed to increase economic security, eliminate barriers to food assistance programs, and strengthen the state's regional food system to increase access and expand local food production. Even though some families still struggle, there are others, like the Sanchez family, who are turning things around.
Now we have food, money for rent, and to pay the bills, and little by little we are fixing our little trailer.
For Cronkite News, I'm Daria Yasmin.
With school underway, teachers are still struggling to obtain basic classroom supplies.
Cronkite News reporter Rio Painter visited a local nonprofit that helps provide discounted supplies.
So I saw a teacher ask a student to bring her shoe up in exchange for a pencil because the teacher didn't have enough pencils. And this way she would get her pencil back because the student wouldn't leave without her shoe. And that was the one thing that kind of broke my heart and made me realize that there was actually a problem out there. The teachers didn't have the supplies that they needed.
Arizona ranks 4th for teacher spending, according to the most recent data analysis by the Economic Policy Institute. The data shows teachers spend an average of $552 per year out of their own pockets. Many teachers looking for ways to save head to Treasures for Teachers, which allows educators to fit as much supplies as they can in the bag for $5.
100% of everything that we receive is donated to us. So from private people, companies, businesses, school supply drives, donation drives, anybody that has any kind of donations that we think teachers can use, we will take.
The store was expanded 2 years ago, adding on a thrift shop, which helps produce more money to provide discounted supplies for teachers.
We get items from, like I said, jewelry to stamps to clothing to housewares. We get high-end items. We get lots of antiques.
While the supply room is only open to educators, the thrift shop is open to the public. Creative teachers are also turning to online funding sites like Donors Choose and Adopt a Classroom to fund special projects. In Tempe, Rio Painter, Cronkite News.
There's a $35 annual membership fee to join Treasures for Teachers, but the nonprofit group says memberships make a great gift.
One Valley School is home to a brand new playground thanks to volunteers and a big donation.
Cronkite News reporter Rio Painter shows us around.
Students at Palm Lane Elementary School in Phoenix never had the option to play on a full playground. Before today, there was a small slide and a few swings. With over 40 volunteers, United Healthcare and Fiesta Bowl Charities worked together to bring a new playground to the school and some other improvements.
Here at Palm Lane, we're doing some landscaping projects. We're laying new rock, fresh plants. We're doing some painting projects in the hallways and the bathrooms, but just some things for the kids to kind of notice and maybe brighten their day and see something new.
Last year, faculty and students were ecstatic to learn that they were getting a new playground.
That our students get the opportunity to have a new playground added to our school because not only do we promote academics here, but we also promote physical education, and it's really important that our kids have the opportunity to exercise and play.
Students can now enjoy the landscape that has been added along with the challenge course every day during recess. In Phoenix, Rio Painter, Cronkite News.
So far this year, Fiesta Bowl Charities have donated more than $3 million to community projects.
This October, schools and organizations are raising awareness for National Bullying Prevention Month.
Cronkite News reporter Mariah Gallegos visited Gila Bend Library, where they found a unique way to promote kindness.
While students are enjoying the fall break, some spent their time using paint to decorate rocks to share their ideas of kindness with others.
Okay, I'm almost done. I just need to write the word kind.
Students gathered around a table, sharing different colors of paint.
You want to use mine?
To decorate and write positive messages on rocks.
My rock is to not tell no one like bad things, like bad words, or say like whatever they get hurt with, good vibes.
Library teacher Alexis Fernandez wanted to find a way for the kids to join in on National Bullying Prevention Month.
Bullying is kind of like, it's a big thing everywhere, you know, and I feel like especially in smaller communities, it can be easier to think, you know, we're just joking around, but joking around can affect people and affect kids and their feelings.
And Otzi knows how those jokes can really affect someone.
You have to be kind, like, people, like, I've seen that they get killed for how much hurt they got hurt.
The rocks are a part of a national project known as Kindness Rocks. Student Raiden Mendoza hopes people put their words into action.
Showing other people how they should be treating everybody in public, and to treat other people right and don't hurt anybody's feelings.
And while each student writes their own message,
you need to be kind.
What they want students to take away is,
we don't have to be best friends with everyone, but you should be kind to everyone regardless.
The library teachers are going to spread the decorated rocks throughout the local park with hopes that someone will find them on a day they need just a few encouraging words. In the broadcast center, Mariah Gallegos, Cronkite News.
Thank you for joining us for this special edition of Cronkite News. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Millions of people die every year from drinking dirty water. I would never have felt I had the ability to do something without ASU pushing me. We built filtration systems out of local materials with the people. To see those kids drink clean water for the first time, it's the most rewarding feeling that you can ever have. I went to ASU because I wanted to change the world. The thing I never would have expected is how the world would have changed me.